I come to my grandmother. I want to become a sister. And my grandma looked at me and she said, I don't think so. I'm disappointed, right? I want to become a priest, but I cannot become a priest because I'm a girl. I want to be like them. And I feel this call in my heart, but I don't want it to. So I denied it. I put back in my hand and said, Lord, call someone else. Don't call me. Don't call me. Don't. God just fulfilling. God answered the prayer.
Welcome to Planet Cross. I'm Madeline Hines. Today we are sitting down with Sister Cecilia Nguyen. We discuss her life growing up in Vietnam, God's specific call in her life to become a religious sister, and the importance of religious sisters in our culture today. I enjoyed discussing Sister Cecilia's role as a ministry leader in the diocese and also what might be the cause of the steep decline in religious vocations today. Planted Cross exists to bring you stories like this. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and head over to our website, planetcross.com, for more life-changing stories. Sister Cecilia, welcome to the show. You're our first guest on Planted Cross. We are so excited to have you.
I'm happy to come.
We wanted to have you on to share your story, how God has worked in your life and called you to become a religious sister, and also talk a little bit about how religious sisters are important in today's society.
My name is Sister Cecilia, and I was born in Vietnam with my with the other I have we all together 5 children in the family, 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I'm right in the middle, so I'm the 3rd one. So grow up in Vietnam in that time. We lived with the communists. I grew up in the communist time, and not good. But our faith, as a Catholic faith, we live in the rural area, like the parish in the farm thing, but very Catholic, rooted deep in faith. So every night we pray. We're going to church for a rosary, and then every morning we wake up early, about 4 o'clock, to go to Mass in the morning and come back home. So we're in the farm, so we come back from Mass and then going to work in the farm or in the school. So that kind of hard life. And then, but we are deep in our Catholic faith, and my family, I think my grandma, grandpa, everything just a Catholic, so we kind of cradle Catholic, we can put that way. Mm-hmm. But then growing with, as a family, my grandmother is the big one the big effect in my religious life. Every night, she give us a story about the saints, and we pray with her, and he talk about the saints. And so with all that, going to pray, going to Mass, and pray, all that kind of every day, every single day, day in, day out, with just Mass in the morning, going to church in the afternoon for rosary, just like that. And that form in ourselves, kind of growing up with strong faith. And every day, I don't know about the other family, but we always said that, my mom and my grandma always said that, okay, now, when we pray to eat, right? We pray, we're blessing it before I eat, the grace. And then we only add into the way, with my brother, eat and I grow up, and Lord, please help me to become a priest. So with our sister, with our girls, and my mom, my grandma, don't add into that. So the same thing too, you want to become a sister, even though we want it or not. So that will form into it about thinking about a religious sister. So and then so that when I grow up with all the stories that my grandmother told us about a saint, missionary, so I kind of cool. I want to be going okay, I want to become a priest and go to become a missionary. So I planned myself. I don't know, about 7, 8 years old, I said, Lord, you can do everything. I want to be a boy. Change me into a boy. So I go to seminary, become a priest, go to missionary. I planned my life. Easy life. So I said, become a priest, go to missionary, and then go to some country. I have no idea which country I'm going to be. But then go to some place that really kind of like poor and don't know God, don't know Jesus. So I talk to them about Jesus, teach them about the faith, and about like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and I cut my head off and I become martyr. I'm done. Is that easy? Very easy. Like I plan into that way, but I don't think that's my plan, not God's plan. So going to school in Vietnam and get into my high school, and then that time, my dad is my dad. My dad is from. He joined the U.S. Army when at that time the Vietnam Civil War, and then he in prison for 10 years. So when he came back, and that's the program in the U.S. program they have like I don't know, human organization, something like that, the sponsor for the people who work for them and in prison. So we came here. So a teenager, late teenager, so we get into the U.S. So we just gone to from Vietnam. So we migrated into USA in United States. What year is it? 1993. So all my family, with my mom, my dad, with my siblings, we end up in Minnesota. So from Vietnam is a hot country. Going to Minnesota, it's kind of cold and snow. And what month? I think in August that we came to U.S. And I mean, in October, it's cold. I mean, never see the snow before in my life. It's so beautiful, the first snow. So with that, so excited. And I mean, freezing to death, but just love it. Just because of the snow and cold, and I mean, I can touch the snow, just see all that, right? And I mean, just see in the story, in the movie, whatever, but never touch until you see and you can touch your own hand and go walk on the snow. I mean, so amazing to me. And for that time, for the first time I see the snow, my life kind of like, from hot weather to the cold weather, and I think, and it's very hard at first. To different culture, different language, we cannot speak English at that time. I mean, cannot, don't understand, and not kind of like, I mean, can understand people, cannot speak. We just like kind of like we have ears but cannot hear. We have mouth but cannot speak, like Jesus said in the Bible. So I mean, the only language we can see is that our hand just working like that and just smile. That's all we can do. So we know yes and no and hello and bye-bye. That's all we can say. So it's hard at first. But then we went to school, went to ESL to learn our language, and then going to school, finish high school, and then I go to college. During that time, because we just really just came to U.S. and we need to support our family. We were a teenager, and my older brother and sisters, they already in training, and then the same thing too. So with my older brother, we went to college, the community college, and then I worked in the college and go to school and work full time to help our family during that time. So we said, okay, now we need to, because we're going to stay in an apartment, but then we want to kind of like, we need a house, apartment, kind of like, because we pay them and we come out with nothing, so we want to get a house. So, and then we work and all together for about like, I think about 2-3 years a little, because my mom, my dad, without three of us, we work so we can pay for like a small house that we can call it our own house, our first own house. Still now, my parents still living in that, so we love it. And then through that, and then we trust. Actually, before we get to the house, we're going to buy the house. We pray. We said, Lord, we don't have a lot of money, but within that kind of that amount of money, and we about like that. Like how many rooms, how many bedrooms, and we don't want a lot of like dark room, and we need some light window. I mean, God just fulfilling. God answered the prayer. So through that, we see that God's hands really helping us along the way. And then, so, but through that, and talk about my vocation. So into that, I have my youngest brother is a priest now. Yeah, he's in Minnesota. So because with that, I have talk a little bit before. So about 13 years old, I come to my grandmother and I said, I want to become a sister. I play a lot of practical joke around people and not hurting anyone, but just play for fun. So my grandma looked at me and she said, I don't think so. I'm disappointed, right? I want to become a priest, but I cannot become a priest because I'm a girl. So when I want to become a sister, my grandma said, I don't think so. And then I said, oh my goodness, what can I do? But then I said, why not? And then she said that you play so many practical jokes around people. You have to quit that. If not, you enter today, they kick you out the next day. I'm disappointed. So that into my heart. So, and then in Vietnam, about 15 years old, so I just looking for in the some religious life, but too young. You know what I mean? It's just too young to understand what is it, but try to get into that until not doesn't go anywhere. But then when I came to that, the call, God called me into that time because I feel it, I see that I want to be one of the sisters because they nice, they wear the habit is really beautiful to me, and they teach, and then they kind of pray, dedicate their life to God. That's why I do the admiring. So I want to be like them. And I feel this call in my heart that I want to be like them. But that caused until we came to US, right? And then I don't speak English in the school. I mean, struggle with the school because of the language. And the call is still in here in my heart. So, and I said, how can I get into religious life if I don't speak the language, right? Cannot help people. So I said, Lord, call someone else, not me. Someone more better than me. They have education, they have degree. I have nothing. So call someone else. But I think when God calls you, he never let go. So I'm going to finish my high school diploma, and then going to college to get into kind of nursing, get into that. And the call is still in here, but I don't want it to, so I denied it. I put back in my head and said, Lord, call someone else. Don't call me, don't call me, don't. And I think I struggled through all that kind of want to be, and I want to be, have a husband, have to be family and everything, but the call still. So my friends see me struggle through that. And then they said, you want to join us at a Sunday that we have Bible sharing, Bible study? I said, oh no, I don't have a time for that because I don't want to answer that call. And they asked me to go for the retreat. I said, no, I don't have time for retreat. So I ignore all that invitation to get my spiritual better. But and then I involved into a lot of activity in the church. So I sing in a choir at with my sister and my brother, and join they call the Eucharistic youth movement, like a leader, and get into the with the children. We help them to love the Mass, the Eucharist, adoration, so all that kind of thing. And I teach they call faith formation right now. They call it faith formation. So I teach in that too. So involve myself into that. Keep busy. Just ignore that call. But God never let go. So living, going to school, work full time, and trying to active in the church. So busy in the church. So to avoid that. But God never let go to that. So halfway to my, not halfway, my second college year. And then there's something I need to, because it just really bothered me. And then no peace, restless. And I said, okay, Lord, whatever. So, and then after I said, Lord, accept it. Whatever you want, I accept it. And then he get it. I accept his calling, and I got peace in my heart. So all the restlessness and all the kind of thing just kind of left. And then I searching out for the religious life. Still want I have a family. Still want a husband. So battle between religious life and family. So I come to our Blessed Mother. I said, okay, Mother Mary, I want a husband. He had to be like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. That's perfect, right? But he cannot, like, I don't like smoke, so he cannot smoking, he cannot drinking, he cannot like gambling or whatever, none of that. And I want all the virtues. I don't know what I on earth that thing. So I pray for a while. And I think our Blessed Mother not really come to me and talk to me, but I feel in my heart that who's on earth that perfect, right? Because I want a perfect one. So, and during my prayer one day, and not the voice, but something, inspiration said that only my son is perfect. None of the men on earth are perfect. So I realized that I asked too much. I asking for impossible. So and then I said, okay, help me. So whatever that you want me to help me to cope with that. So and then, and I look for a sign, not really sign, but then I said, okay, Lord, now I will write a letter to some of the community, religious community, if they accept me, and that is the sign. So I write down to one of the community in Houston. So I'm waiting for the answer. And I didn't pray that they accept me or deny me. I just want whatever God wants me to do, right? So I send a letter and then I tell them like about myself. I'm still in my second year of college, and then, so the letter come back and said, okay, so we wanted to finish your college first, and after that we can talk about that. So I said, okay, Lord, see, that is the way. I'm not you, so don't bother me anymore, because they refuse it, right? They denied it, not because myself, but they denied it. But no, I'm looking for something else. So and then I just take that as an excuse for me. So and then later on, it's still the same thing. It's kind of bother me. So, and then I asked for the guidance, and then God guides me through all that kind of thing. So and then I looking for another community, and then accept me. So now I am here. So I entered religious life in Olivetan Benedictine in 2003, and I make my first vows in 2005, and my final vows in 2009 here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And Bishop Taylor he resigned for he do that, he received my vows, my final vows. So now I'm 20 years of my vows in religious life. Yeah. So in religious life, after I make my first vows, I work 1 year in hospital, and because then we had said because Benedictine, and we have a hospital. They call it Saint Bernard Hospital. So I worked in the hospital for 1 year. And after that 1 year, and our superior called me into her office and said, Sister Cecilia, I want to try something different. I said, okay, what can I do? She said, there is a community, the parish in West Memphis. They need a teacher. So I would like you to come over there and be a teacher. And I said, oh my goodness, I never taught in my life in the school at all. I know I do teach in this like catechism in the church, but like just PRE, but not in the classroom. You have about like students sit right there, you have to meet with the parents, and you had do the lesson plan, grading paper, and tests, and all that kind of thing. I mean, horrifying me. So I said, I don't know I can do it or not. And then she told me that, how about like this? I want you to pray about that, but how about try it and just come for about like one semester and try it out. If you still like it, and it's okay. But if you don't like it, and we will talk it later. So I said, okay, I will try it for one semester. So he said, okay, come back after Christmas, that semester over, and come back after Christmas, and then let me know. How did you like it? Oh my goodness! So after that year in June, so I left the work in the hospital, come back home, try to pack, and go to the school. And how do I do? Okay, now I get to look through all the books. So not only one class, I teach from kindergarten up to sixth grade. So kindergarten to sixth grade, 7 class every day, and do kind of 7 different lessons. I mean, I never been a school teaching like that with from kindergarten to sixth grader. So different level to teach, right? And never in a school. I'm getting nervous so much. And then, but the principal is really helpful. She said, okay, sister, I'm here. If you need me, I will go with you. So, and then I said, let me make my first lesson. And if you approve it, and I will, okay. If you not approve it, and so I can help. Just help me how to do it. And then she said, okay. So I make my first lesson and my lesson plan, and then she looked through. She said, perfect. You too much detail into that your lesson plan. Perfect. Everyone can teach through your lesson plan. I said, okay, so that's good. So my first semester, I come home, I teach for that 6 months, and I come back home, and then the superior said, so how is it? How did you like it? Because I didn't hear anything complaining during that time. And I said, I think I'm okay, but I started kind of like liking it. And they said, okay, so you go back to your teaching. So so from that on, I go back to teach, and I in the school for 12 years teaching that for 12 years until so. And then I went there for 5 years in West Memphis, and she called me, and then we have a change of superior election for new one. So the new one elected. So she sent me to Texas for 1 year, and I come back. Like, after that 1 year, she told me to come back to West Memphis. I come back to West Memphis for another several more years. So about 2017, she have a new superior, so coming back here as a formator, like helping with the newcomer, like teach them how to become a sister religious, like that. For that 3 years, in 2020, I go back to West Memphis for 2 years, and that 2022, Bishop Taylor called me and asked me if I can work here in the Diocese of Little Rock.
What do you do as the minister to religious?
As the minister to religious, I go out to kind of like between the bishop with the religious community So I go out and visit to the community and listen to them, like anything that visitation, and see if they need anything from the diocese or what the diocese can help, if they need something from the diocese, something like that, and see if they still with the bishop. Mhm. And then come back and then report to the bishop. So far, it's really good. And then I do I open once or twice a year that I have would work for the women vocation retreat to encourage the young women to a little bit into not forcing but kind of open the way for them to understand religious system, the call of God calling them. So if the discerning vocation, so they have opportunity to check it out, to see and to understand, learn about religious life, and that can help them a little bit. So far, we did good.
I have a couple of questions about your story before we move on to talking about religious life a little bit more. So, how was growing up in Vietnam different than what we would see growing up in the U.S.?
Growing up in Vietnam, you know that Vietnam is a communist country now, right? So not everything kind of like at my time kind of like really they control everything. So they hiding something, they control a lot of things. So we don't know a lot, not a broad open here. And kind of like it's that time still kind of like persecution in the Catholic faith. And I know that I remember one year that we have Christmas Mass at night, Christmas Eve Mass. And they just come in and they said, no, you cannot have it. So our parents cannot have it. So it's still persecution. And now it's kind of open because we have more another country come in for economy or for whatever, for job opening. But at that time, it's really strict. So kind of like not open. But when I came here, and because you live in a strict country, and open here is so freedom, and I feel kind of so much freedom. I mean, too much, because everything you can say everything, you can say anything, and I mean everything. But then open my mind to understand that even though in a freedom, but you had rule. So even though you can say anything, but you can get in trouble too. So kind of like, I like it here. Because sometimes I don't know now, because in the religious life, we don't expose so much out there in the world to understand more, but work with the youth so I understand a little bit more into that. But at first, yeah, really too much freedom here. But then when we grow into this one, adapted with the culture and society, so kind of is good. Mm-hmm.
So, you're saying that the Catholicism is persecuted, like it's held to a minimum in Vietnam. But you were explaining how you'd be going to Mass every morning, you'd have the rosary every evening, and you had a very strong Catholic community, it seems like, within Vietnam. What was that like? And like, how do you think, because of the persecution and because it's kind of held at an arm's length by the government, that you had a thriving Catholic community? Or how is there that you grew up in a thriving Catholic community in a country that doesn't want Catholics to be there?
In Vietnam, most of the community, the Catholic community, will live together as a village. So if you go to they call it the parish, like the church in the middle, because we live in a country, so the church right in the middle, and everyone should live around that within walking distance. So, and everyone neutral, everyone faith. And we had mass about like 4 o'clock in the morning before everything going on there. And so because with all that, we all together in the same parish, in the same village. So I think that persecution is a big thing, but just going to mass and go to pray just in the little village, and it's not that bad. But sometimes they can they we call it the police, but over there they kind of like, yeah, the police, they can come into the church, they just walk around and see what you're doing. And I remember that one time we are in the choir practice at nighttime, and then we had to turn off the light and go home quietly because they just roaming around the church. So we cannot do it. So we don't know. So our he's a seminarian, and he said that, okay, now everyone quietly go home because it's we cannot do anything tonight. So I don't know if we do something, we may get in trouble. So that kind of persecution. But then we do kind of not in the hidden way, but not really exposing way too.
Did that ever shake your faith at all, having the government against you, or did it make you feel strong because you felt supported by your community?
I think we had more stronger faith through that persecution, like help us to live, because I mean you had nothing to hold on, only your faith with God, right? Because like I mean out there we live in poor country, and farmer is that in Vietnam is really poor. So the only thing we can hope is in God. So holding our faith and going to church and praying, that help us to live stronger. And our faith grew strong through that persecution.
So I have heard of Our Lady of La Vang, but I don't really know much about her, and the story with her apparition in Vietnam. Has that apparition, had it impacted your community or your life personally, or could you tell us a little bit more about what you know about her?
Actually, the Our Lady of La Vang is in the north, and we in the south. But we heard about that. But the Our Lady of La Vang appearing to the Vietnamese people during persecution is long, about 200 years before our time. So that time persecution from all that like dynastic, all that king, that time persecution through missionary from the other country to Vietnam, and people just led through to the mountain and to hiding before the persecution, for that persecution. And then Our Lady appeared to her, to them, not to her. She appeared to people led into the mountain and to console them and helping them strengthen their faith and heal them people. Because you know what, when they go into the mountain living that kind of like life, they get kind of like sickness, everything, malaria. So Our Lady appear and tell them to take the leaves from the tree that she appeared, she standing, and cook as a tea and drink it and heal. So all that because that's why we have the Vietnamese people. We have strong devotion to our Blessed Mother. We say rosary every day, and because from our ancestors passed through that to us, and we not because like Our Lady more than Jesus, but because through her we come to Jesus, and the Vietnamese people through that persecution and the strong faith with our Blessed Mother. So from her that we come to Jesus. So we have a really strong devotion to our Blessed Mother.
Would you say that Our Lady of La Vang, she kind of had an influence on Catholicism in Vietnam the way maybe Our Lady of Guadalupe had an influence on Catholicism in Mexico?
Yes, the same. It's the same. Yeah.
Have you been able to go back there and visit the shrine of Our Lady of La Vang?
Yes, we did. My family, actually, my brothers, my parents, and my son, not my, the other sister, not. But we went there, I think, 2013. We went there. We went back to Vietnam, and then we went to Our Lady of La Vang, and we visited the shrine. It's beautiful. I'm excited. Every years now, um, people in the country, they gather. Most people in the north, they gather in, I think, Our Lady of La Vang feast day. I don't know what day is it, but like November, I don't know, this year, or I think August something, August 15, I think, about like 50,000 people gather there. They have procession for learning, like kind of like pilgrimage, holy year, it's a and jubilee year, so they gather there and all that for pilgrimage to Our Lady of La Vang. And every year they have like some kind of pilgrimage to go to that shrine and to visit, to pray, ask petition, whatever. So a lot of people travel to that shrine. And throughout Vietnam, we had many shrines. In the north, we have Our Lady of La Vang. I live in Phan Thiet in Vietnam, in the south. So we have Our Lady of Ta Bao. So the same thing every month. People just pilgrimage to there. The whole many people go there for pray and pilgrimage to that.
How did Catholicism reach Vietnam? When did it first get introduced?
Oh, I think 1700 that the parish missionary and Jesuits, Dominican, all the from parish from England, they came to Vietnam to missionary in Vietnam, and that they brought the Catholic faith into Vietnamese people, and that time persecution because the Vietnamese dynasty, the all the king that time, so at first they accepted because they bring it like even the country, the other country, foreign country, they bring their like merchandise, money to that exchanging and accept it. But then so our missionaries go through that too and bring faith to the Vietnamese people through that. And I think since 1700, and for 200 years, that the persecution spread through Vietnamese people. And then you know that we have 117 martyr, Vietnamese martyr. We call Vietnamese, but not all Vietnamese, because there are some like bishop, priest, or missionary from the other country die through that faith in Vietnam persecution.
Did Catholicism, even though it met persecution right away when it reached Vietnam, did it spread quickly? Because if it's only a couple hundred years old in Vietnam, how did it spread? Because I know there's a very large Catholic population in Vietnam, and a lot of Vietnamese people that are in the United States are Catholic. And so how did that spread so quickly?
Do you know that Vietnam the country is not big, right? That's the only, they call it an S. So they reached to the north first, and then, so what can I say this? So, and then the missionary from the established community in the North Vietnam, and so the spread through, because like the same thing too, like persecution. When the persecution, people hiding, going somewhere else, and then it spread anew, like the first like in the Acts of the Apostle. So go from the north to the south, so spread out, and so the faith just spread through from the north to the south. And when we call the Bishop Alessandro, that he the one have his give the Vietnamese, he translated the Vietnamese language from some kind of like, I don't know, they call it a character, into the letter that we have ABC now, that he had a big job into that. So because and translate the Bible to the Vietnamese language through that, so people can understand more, and then it spread. And I think our ancestors accept the faith, and when I think when we had a faith, and through persecution, that and keep people keep strong faith and just spread. So through that thing, I think because people just run from place to place to hiding and get through that. The whole country is not the whole country is a Catholic, but I think every part of the country there's a Catholic. There's a Catholic church in that.
What's the main religion besides Catholicism in Vietnam? And is it the same that when the Catholic missionaries first came to Vietnam, were they meeting against a different religion? And is that religion still around today?
Yes, the Buddhist is the biggest. This is the main religion in Vietnam. That's a big one. So they have like they call it the Buddhist, and then I don't remember. I don't know what the other call in different language, but they have something like they not worship, but they honor their parents, and just I don't know what do they call that. But there's another, but the Buddhist is the biggest one. So when the missionary came to that, and when they spread through, they preach the gospel, the thing. So against that, that's why the persecution come, because like you preach something new, and then against that, the way they have been doing, they worship. And the teaching of the Catholicism is about like we worship only God, and we cannot bow down to anyone else beside God, right? So different from that. So the Vietnamese really highly into respect our parents. So because if you not, they not worship the parent, but if you not put your parent higher, your ancestor higher, and you put God higher than your parent, there's something wrong about this religion. So that is a conflict, and the persecution started. But and then later on they explain and it accepted. So the one who follow accept all that kind of thing, and it's very hard at first.
And also, the blood of the martyrs is the seed
Yeah,
of the
seed of the
church.
church.
And so, I guess seeing people dying for the faith also inspired other people to think, well, if they're willing to die for it, then it must be true.
And then we have 117 saints, martyr, but because we don't have enough money, but there's a many more into that persecution and be martyr. But if we can have a money to open vocations, I think that's a lot. But that, I think 1988, that Pope John Paul II canonized that 117 martyr, the Vietnamese martyr. We're so proud of that.
So you said that your family, your grandmother, was very supportive of, I guess, religious life in general, really emphasizing priesthood for your brother, and you wanted to be a priest as well. That kind of reminds me of Saint Therese a little bit, how she said that she longs to be a priest, but of course, as women in the Catholic Church, women can't be priests. Did your family? What did your family think once you were like, okay, I am going to go be a religious sister?
My mom, my dad, very supportive. They are really, because they said that it's your life. If you feel happy with that, and go with it, because they cannot say no. They want grandparent, they want children, they want grandchildren, one child. But no, everyone, they told us that whatever that you want to happen in your life, they support it, because they the one started when we were really young. They said that, okay, you eat, okay, Lord help us to grow, to go to school and be smart and become a sister or become a priest. So they're false, right?
That's their fault.
They're very supportive.
That's really good. I hear a lot of times that sometimes the biggest barrier to someone becoming a religious sister or a priest is their parents. And I would say, especially with immigrants, my husband's grandparents are from the Philippines, and they came over. They're a doctor and a nurse, and they wanted to raise doctors and nurses and lawyers, and they're very proud of their grandchildren when they achieve big jobs that pay lots of money. And I think that's a big immigrant mindset for people that come from countries with less opportunity, and they come to the U.S., the land of opportunity, and they're like, hey, let's go, let's make a lot of money. And so religious life and the priesthood, completely opposite of that. It's saying, I'm not going to work for money, I'm going to work for God. I think that's really good that you had the opposite reaction from your family.
Even though my sister right now and my brother the same thing too, said, okay, if all my children they want to become a sister or priesthood, go ahead, I'll offer them all. But so our family really supportive to all that. If God call them, yeah, to go for it. Doesn't matter if they're happy with it.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned this, how your call for religious life started in Vietnam, how you saw the religious sisters and you're like, I want to be like them one day. And so I had the question, which I think you answered it. If you had stayed in Vietnam, do you think you would have become a religious sister?
Yes. Actually, when I saw that and I just started my 15, I don't remember how old at that time. But when my parents, my dad filed a form to go to US, right? And I asked my dad, I want to stay here with a sister to become a religious life. I want to stay here with them. I don't want to go. I don't know anyone over there. So I want to stay here. So my dad said, no, you go with us. You're too young to stay by yourself. So I go. And then I really want. So if I stay in Vietnam, I think I will be a religious sister. Not battle fighting between when I came here.
How did you discern or choose which order that you went into?
I think that's through prayers, and then God's the one who chose you. He's the one who chooses it. It's not you. So, like when you discern, you don't know what thing, but and then I pray, and what I want to, because like I want to be an active. I don't want to be cloistered. So I will talk about like cloistered and active community later on. But like so I cannot be just enclosure. So I want active going out, and then like I want to serve people. So and then when I discerning, I just look through all the some of the community and what do they do, and what their charism is, and the ministry, and then you check it out. You call them, and you talk with them, discerning with them, and come for a visit. So when you come to the community for a visit, and you have the sense of belonging, because some community I go to the retreat with, and then I love the sister, I like them, I like their ministry, but the sense of belonging, I don't have it. So I said, no, it's not for me. So when I asked this one, discerning with the one I'm right now, the Olivetan Benedictine Sister, I call them and I come for 2 weeks visit. When I first came, and then I said, I feel peace. And then I said, I think this is the one I want. So and then you live with them and you work with them a little bit, checking out, discerning with them, and then you feel that yeah, God really called me into this one. I feel belonging, and then yeah, I make go home and make my application and come.
In Minnesota, when you moved, were there many religious sisters?
Minnesota, we have more Catholic and more religious community over there. But I don't know. I didn't check in Minnesota, and I just check around different state, but not in Minnesota. I don't know why. So sometimes my sister, my younger sister said, "Why don't you go too far away?" I said, "Maybe God's the one who lead me that way."
It's God's providence that you
Yeah.
didn't look in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Your story, I think, has a lot of similarities to Saint Therese. She went to mass every day with her family at 5:30 in the morning. You went to mass every day with your family at 4 in the morning. Her parents highly encouraged their children to become religious, and they all did. And it seems like most of your siblings also did. She had a longing to become a priest and a missionary, even though she couldn't do either because she had already taken her vows as a cloistered nun. But she still had that missionary spirit, and she's our patron of Planted Cross. Our name Planted Cross comes from one of her quotes. She says, "I want to plant the cross on every shore." And she had that missionary zeal in that statement, in the section of Story of the Soul where she's talking about that. She's saying, "I want to be a priest. I want to be a missionary." But she fulfilled that desire through her vocation to religious life. And she said, well, I can't do that, but I can pray. And like that's my calling. My calling is to pray, and that's my mission. That's my way that I can honor God. And I think I see a lot of similarities in her story growing up and your story growing up as well, that longing to be a priest and a missionary.
Yeah, actually, I really want to be a priest, but no, Catholic cannot do that.
Yes. And I would think a lot of people think that religious sisters are oppressed, don't have freedom in the Catholic Church. I would say absolutely not. They're probably some of the most free people that you've ever met. Not necessarily in terms of like what the world says freedom is, where you can just do whatever you want, but freedom in the sense of they are tapped into truth. They're tapped in, and the truth will set you free. Yeah, and I think it takes a radical faith to be able to give up what the world says is the way to be, having a family of your own, getting married and having children and building a career, having a house, all of those things that religious sisters give up just to be with Jesus all the time.
And we're not forced to do that. We have freedom to do that, because if forcing is not the way that God wanted to. So if you are forced to become a sister, you're not happy with that because God not called you to. So actually, the religious life is a kind of a lot of freedom too, within the way that we live, but not kind of like not forcing.
I think it's really beautiful. I grew up Protestant, and I really never saw religious sisters around, especially being in the South. Like we don't have a lot of Catholics to begin with, let alone religious sisters. But I know that becoming more familiar with the Catholic Church and like the Catholic history, that there used to be a lot more religious sisters in the United States and in the world, but that number has like really decreased, and they are not as common anymore. Even in parishes, like you would normally see like sisters with you in church, but that's not as common now. Why do you think that we have seen that decline in religious sisters?
the answer may be not correct, but I think just because now, you know that the social media, the opportunity for the job, they have more higher, and the life, and the family. We don't have more children. So we less children in the family, and they want grandchildren. So, and then maybe another thing is the prayer life in the family maybe not that strong anymore, because like when you pray, they put the thing, they know God, and then but you don't pray anymore. Just one a week go to mass is not enough. So if they start praying in the family like every day, and I think maybe vocation can be nourished through all that. But because the worldly thing just more adapted into more in the family, and God kind of like less time for God, and I think that another thing adding to that declining for the vocation calling, vocation from God.
That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought of that before in terms of we're having fewer kids. And so there are fewer people to become religious sisters and priests, and that pressure to have grandchildren for your parents and to be successful for your parents. If there's only 2 kids, then, well, one can be a priest and one can have a family. Or, I mean, that's still creating like fewer religious. I hadn't thought about that before. And then, yeah, the prayer life in the family where just going to mass on Sundays is enough to check a box, and maybe not going as often because your family, how many siblings? You had 5?
Yeah, 5.
And you have a brother's a priest, you're a sister. Are there any others that are?
No, they already married.
I mean, still 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
You guys went to mass every day, and you prayed the rosary as a family in your parish community every day, and you talked about the faith frequently. And yeah, now families, fewer and fewer having family dinners even together, and most of our socializing is coming through social media, which can go any which way. That makes a lot of sense.
But and then the declining of the number, you don't see a lot, but there's still many vocation, many young girl, young man still searching for the truth, for hungry for something else higher than just the normal life, and they're still discerning for God's calling. So that's still discerning out there. But because when in the South, especially in that area, we don't have a lot of Catholic, so we see less. And then, but if you go to the big city and to the state that have more Catholic, there's still a lot of vocation. But and then the same thing too. We have less vocation, the young people joining, and then the sister getting old, and then the number of the sisters getting smaller, and then we don't have people to send out to the parish, to the school, and because they don't see the sister, they don't see the brother. So that another thing adding to that too, because they never see it, they never think about that too. So that's another problem. But there's still many vocation out there, but we don't know.
Yeah, there's still several thousand. It's just a lot smaller than it used to be. Have you seen an increase in interest recently? Because there are a lot of, like myself, new converts to the Catholic faith, and I can definitely say that I'm more traditional and as a new convert, and I think that's true for a lot of other converts as well, that when they convert to Catholicism, whether from nothing or whether from a different Protestant denomination, that they typically become pretty traditional. And even the Catholics that grew up in the faith, people my age, are usually more traditional. And because of that, have you seen any increase in interest in religious vocations, or is it still kind of pretty much the same?
I'm working for my community as a vocation director for 3 years now. As I go out with the youth and go for the thing, I think the number kind of like increasing a little bit, not much, not a lot, but because like when we go with some kind of youth conferences and we had a vocation booth, you see more people come and talk about that and want to know about more religious life. Sister, can you tell us about your life? How about the religious sister? How is that thing? They want to know more and still discerning. So I think we have but they're looking for the one like kind of tradition. They go more into the tradition, wear the habits, wear the veils, and pray. So they're looking for more to the tradition, back to the original, back to like before. So kind of hope into that because more young people, more young girls, young boys still searching, discerning for vocation.
That's really good. What importance do religious sisters have in society? I know you said you wanted to talk about cloistered sisters, cloistered nuns, and religious sisters, and maybe what the difference is there. What impact do religious sisters have on society and maybe even the church more specifically? And how can someone who is a cloistered nun who never leaves the convent, like St. Therese, where she stays in there and she prays, how can she have an impact on society in the same way as you, who is not cloistered, might have on society? Or is there a difference in that way?
So the sister or a nun is a term kind of they call that people just think all the same. It's religious, but differ in different way. The sister is an active who work in the world with the ministry. The cloister is kind of like the nun. They live in a cloister and they dedicate themselves as the prayer life and live in the monastery, just enclosure in there, just dedicate themselves to life, to pray for people. So they impact a lot through their prayer. They are the heartbeat of the church because they pray for everyone because we need pray. So they're the one who the heart and we just the hand, the feet just go out and work. So they just pumping out that grace through the grace, and then we go out and then pray. We together, but different way, in the active and in the prayer way. So we combine together that work out. So the sister who is in active, you know that in the impact in the church, the what can I say? The who are the active in the world, that even though they're active, but they still pray too. So the apostolic exhortation variety of the religious life emphasize that the consecration, the sanctification of religion. So we live a vows, we freely live the vows of poverty, chastity, obedience, to imitate Christ to the Father, but we live for Christ, we live for the church, and we're serving other people. And like an active, you know that people can, for the founder, when they found it in the education or the healthcare and social worker, social justice. And now we have more new community working with the youth and to reaching out to the youth and for all that kind of things. So kind of like as a hand, the feet of Christ to other people. And the cloister, the same, they're not going out to do that, but through their prayer, like Saint Teresa, Saint Therese, even though she's not a missionary, but she's the patron of the missionary. So through her prayers and through all that, pray for everyone. and to the missionary, and that can be so the cloister. And I think so with the active people, the sister, they do out there, the nun, the cloister nun, they dedicate themselves totally to the prayer of life, to the prayer that to everyone, and we affected in everyone's life through the cloister.
In St. Pope John Paul II's Theology of the Body, where he talks about during his Wednesday audiences, basically that through our bodies there is salvation in terms of God became flesh, and he wants to save us through our flesh. And basically everything you can think of in terms of theology can come back to like our bodies and how God has designed us, because he's made us in his image. And one of the ways that that is exemplified is in men and women, and it's exemplified in marriage, where through a man and a woman they can create new life, and it's an image of the Trinity in that kind of way. But also in terms of vocations to holy orders or to religious life, the priests represent Christ in that way, and the religious sisters represent the bride of Christ, the church, and how we are all brides of Christ. Christopher West from the Theology of the Body Institute, he likes to summarize the Bible in saying, the summary of the Bible is God wants to marry us. And religious sisters live that out every day, because you are technically married to Jesus. And I think by not having as many religious sisters in parishes, it can kind of give the image that it's only important to be a priest, and to be involved in the church you need to be a priest. And without having as many religious sisters around as that example of what it looks like to be a woman fully dedicated to the church, it can maybe give that image of like, when people think, well, women should be able to be priests because women should be able to lead in the church. But I think religious sisters, they're counter to that. It's no, women don't need to be priests in order to be active in the church. They can be lay women, but they can also be religious sisters. And how you have a role of leadership in the Diocese of Minister to Religious, but you'll never be bishop. You'll never be a priest, no matter how much you prayed as a little girl. And that's a good thing, and it's not a bad thing. Could you talk a little bit more about how you see that relationship for yourself as a little girl? You wanted to be a priest, and you realized, I can't. I'm not supposed to do that. How did you come to terms with that, and what's your perspective on that now?
To become a priest, I want to become a priest just because I want to go to missionary. That the third was not just want to be like a priest like now people wanted to, but I just want to, because at that time my grandmother told about the story about the missionary. Only the priest. She never talked about any sister going to missionary. So that in order for me to go to be a missionary, need to be a priest. That's all I can think of. With my really limited understanding and my really small brain. Through that, but not with the want to be a priest. Like now people fight for, some people want to be a priest that they can equal with a priest. No, not my thing. I just want to be going to missionary because sister cannot go. I thought that at that time.
I think that religious sisters, they have such an important role as a model for all people, but especially for women and girls, and like what it looks like to be a woman and lead in the church, and not have to be a priest in order to be able to lead in the church, because God made us different, and that's a good thing, and we can explore those roles in different ways. And when we're working in harmony with that is when we all thrive.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, because like God created you, and I mean, He gives you something. He gives you grace to fulfill whatever He called you to be. So you cope with that. You work with that grace, and to me, as to become a priest or to become a sister, as a woman or a man to be a priest, they have. I mean, to sister, we fulfill our vows. We fulfill our life into the vows that we make to Christ as a bride of Christ. And doesn't need to be a big thing. I mean, sometimes a hidden life is to become a saint than, I mean, you big thing, I mean, everything. No, everyone know. And I like the hidden life. But actually, I want to be kind of like, yeah, with my childhood liking is different from right now. I just want to be a hidden life, do some simple thing. But God's will is not my will. The one I want, not God want me to. So when Bishop asked me to be a minister to religious, and I said, Bishop, I don't think I can do it. I think you asked for the wrong person. I told him that. I don't think anyone told Bishop that thing, but I'm so nervous. I'm afraid and scared. And I said, Bishop, I think you asked for the wrong person. So, and then he said, you go do good, sister, you go do good. And then, I mean, that encouraging. And then I pray, and through God's grace, and I always pray when I do something, and that helped me courage to do my ministry. So I don't think need to be, I mean, everything need to be, have their own way that God calling them to do.
How do you think that we can encourage more young women to discern religious life?
That is that thing we had to like go back to like the family life, and like if they pray, and then in the parish, maybe the priest talk about that and pray for vocation, and in the like campus, and they can have things. And then another thing is I try to do, and we try to do, and a lot of community try to do is we have vocation retreat, come and see retreat in the convent or the diocese, come and see retreat at the diocese, and then encourage the young girls to participate into that, and like in the youth group, and then they invite the sister come, or priest or religious brothers to come and give a talk about vocation. And sometimes I just go around and with the youth, and I said, did you ever think about a sister? So asking some questions for them just to think about that. And someone said no right away, and someone said, since I've been thinking about that. I said, okay, so we will have that retreat coming up like that, and then encourage to come to participate into that kind of retreat, to come and check it out, and to come and see if that fits you. And then sometimes I tell them just call, just pray. And sometimes just don't pray for I want to become this, to become that, but to tell God that what do you want me to do? So if I want that, is it my way or your will? So I said, just pray for God's willing for your life. And if God calls you, and don't afraid to answer. Because some people say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I want to be sister, but I want to be that. So they're bouncing between like family life, religious life, so bouncing between that. And I said, that's okay. That's good to be bouncing around that too. But pray. Just don't bouncing a lot. And see what God wants you to do. And shape your life into the prayer life. You don't have to pray all the time. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just check it out. See what wanted to do, and pray with God, the relationship with God. It can help you figure out. And I think to encourage them to a little bit more relationship with God, and that kind of can find out their vocation.
I have a couple of quicker questions for you. These don't necessarily need to be like pop quiz questions, but you can just answer them as quickly as you want to, or go into more depth if you want to. How do sisters make money?
Oh, we call our ministry, so like active community we have. So we the first thing we rely on God's providence, right? And then we work like we doing the education, so the parish pay or we get some pay, so that we get, and then actually through that we don't do much like other people. But God's providence and people help us. People give us. Some people donate it to us, so that way we live through that poverty, relies on God, and God's providence, and people helping.
Why do sisters wear habits?
Oh, the habits. Okay, talk about a habit. This is kind of like people call it a uniform, but not really a uniform. It's a habit, yes. To like some they don't wear it anymore because they want to go into the world with the people, and they said they're going to the world with the people and easy to serve other people. But to wear the habit is to distinguish you between not apart with them, but to different a little bit from other people, like the secular people, and we wear the habit as a sign that you dedicated to the Lord. Mhm. And then you know that different color because that different founders when they choose for like Dominican wearing white, we wearing white, and some wearing black and blue or something like that. So we wear it like a little bit different from other people and sign that like we dedicated to ourselves to God, to live for God only.
How do sisters do their hair?
Oh, okay. We do our hair actually not much. We just cut our hair. We had a veil so cover everything up. So like I cut my own hair, stand in front of the mirror and cut my own hair because I don't care how it look like.
So you keep it short.
I'll give it short. We all short hair. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've always wondered. It's like it's a lot of if you have your hair really long, like it's a lot of work just to put it back
No,
in the
we're doing
habit.
it short.
How can someone become a religious sister?
At first, God did call them, and they want the answer to that call, and they go into the process of like discerning, check it out, go for the retreat, go for vocation retreat, come and see, and check it out with whatever community that they wanted to. Let's call them into. And what do they like cloister or active, and like education or healthcare or working social worker for other people. So that's what they need to figure out what they want, and then God's calling them to, and then see they have to check it out which community is they feel that like I do, like feel belonging to, feel at home, and that I like that kind of ministry that the community do working, and that kind of thing. Do they fit? They call for that charism, and that. So and then after they figure out, they come and see and check out with the community, and we discern both together when they discerning to the community, so they see if they fit into that community, and the community discerning with them that do they really have a call to this particular community, and that if both agree with that, and then they enter, and then through that process move on.
How long does that usually take? Like from the moment that they enter until they take their full vows.
In general, they may have like 1 year or 2 years as a candidate that we call discerning. So to our community, they're discerning with us for about a year, something like that, or over a year, depend. Take Someone take longer than the other. Someone want to do and do right away. So depend on that time. But and then when they enter, we call like patrolling. So some community for 2 years, some for 1 year. So our community for only 1 year patrolling. And if they to continue want to, and the community see that if they still really fit with us, and they ask for become a novice. So as a novice, they have a 2-year novice, one canonical novice, and one canonical year, and another year just adding up for them to have more time to study, to learn about their vows, the Constitution, and all that thing. And after that 2 years of a novice, they still wanted to, and they asked to make first vows. So in our community, they make first vow for 1 year. They're not the whole thing. So after each year, they renew the vows until 4 to 6 years. So after 4 to 6 years, after 4 years, if they're really ready to make their final vows in our community, and they ask if they can make their final vow. So we have a chapter for them that they fit, if they're really suitable for this community. And then we vote for them to make their vows. And if they're not ready, they can ask for another year to discerning more. And it's allow them to have time to discerning more. And they can make final vows. So after 4 to 6 years, they have to. So after that, after 9 years from the enter time to the final vows, if after 9 years, if they cannot decide it, they either make their vows or they have to go home. So most of the people make their vows. So they make final vows. So we are about like 8-9 years together before they fully call the sisterhood.
It's a big commitment.
A big commitment for whole life, because they make
Yes.
for whole life.
And so there's a lot of years to discern it.
Yeah. So no pressure, no rush, nothing. They don't have to enter like a couple months, a couple years, and then the full life. They have to be make final vows, right? Wait, so a long-term discerning to check it out if they are really into that, and they have to learn how to be a religious sister, learn how to keep their vows, learn the constitution of the community, if they can keep that all life.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Sister Cecilia, for coming on the show. We really enjoyed talking with you today. I really enjoyed hearing your story and about how you grew up in Vietnam and coming to the U.S. and discerning into religious life. I hope that this encourages people to think more seriously about religious life, whether it's young women who haven't yet decided what their vocation was, hadn't yet discerned it, or just people in general understanding how important religious sisters are to our society.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me too. And I'm happy to be part of this interviewing. God bless you, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Planet Cross exists to bring you stories like this. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and head over to our website, planetcross.com, to find more life-changing stories.